Hello, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Muhammad Ahsan Qureshi, and today we will be discussing about social responsibility and managerial ethics. So, starting our lecture, social responsibility and managerial ethics. In this lecture, we will be studying about the social responsibility, social obligation, social responsiveness, social responsibility, green management, how organizations can go green, and how it can be evaluated, ethics, and factors which influence the behavior of a person. And at the end, we will be discussing about social entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurship. So, starting from the first topic, that is social obligation. The obligation of a business to meet its economic and legal responsibilities and nothing more. Social responsiveness means that a company engages in social action in response to some popular social need. Managers in these companies are guided by social norms and values and make practical, market oriented decisions about their actions. For instance, managers at American Express Company identified three themes: community service, cultural heritage, and leaders for tomorrow to guide it in deciding which worldwide projects and organizations to support. By making these choices, managers responded to what they felt were important social needs. मतलब कि जो आप कम्युनिटी में ज़रूरत महसूस करते हैं उस तरह आपकी रिस्पॉन्स जो मैनेजर है उस तरह से वो डिसीजन ले और एक नई प्लेटफॉर्म नया कोई अपॉर्चुनिटी लॉन्च कर दे. That is social responsiveness. In order to understand the social responsiveness more clearly, let us look a video. This is a video which is about social responsiveness, and this will help you to clear this topic.
The United States is built on a framework of democracy that relies on individuals contributing on a personal level in order for the system to work. During election times, for example, you've no doubt heard the phrase, "It's your civic duty to vote and pay attention to politics." On a more individual level, you may have participated in a neighborhood cleanup or volunteered with a local organization. In most cases, you have participated in these activities because you recognize that, as a member of the community, you are obligated to contribute in order for that community to thrive. From the perspective of the social sciences, this obligation is what is known as social responsiveness, which is sometimes referred to as social responsibility. In the broadest sense of the term, social responsiveness is a person's obligation to contribute to their community or country in a way that makes the quality of life and environment better for those around them. Volunteering at the local homeless shelter or soup kitchen, for example, would be considered social responsiveness because you are doing your part to improve the lives and circumstances of those living in your community. It should be noted that not all social responsiveness needs to be as active as in the example above. It can be a passive act as well. If, for example, you choose to boycott a particular company because you felt that their business practices were harmful or destructive, this would also be an act of social responsiveness because you are intentionally avoiding something that you believe deteriorates the welfare of others. While the term social responsiveness broadly refers to the act of contributing to the welfare of others, it is often applied in the context of corporate businesses. Although corporations are not legally required to contribute to the welfare of others, in many ways there exists a kind of ethical self-regulation that encourages, among other things, charitable giving. For example, large corporations like the clothing company Timberland reserve one or more days each year where their employees engage in volunteer projects to clean, rebuild, or otherwise give back to the community. These activities are funded by the company, which supports such projects that contribute to the communities in which they are located or have large market shares. A less direct example would be a company that enforces a strict adherence to environmental standards or social policies like maternity leave. Though they are not making a direct intentional effort to go out and volunteer, they are making a concerted effort to reduce their environmental footprint by causing as little harm to the environment as is possible. It's worth pointing out that while these types of social responsiveness are generally not enforced legally, in some cases they follow what are considered soft laws, which are regulations that fall outside of traditional law and order, like the enforcement of FDA regulations. In more recent years, the concept of social responsiveness has been applied to other areas of life. On college campuses, for example, student social responsibility has become a popular moral or ethical framework encouraged by faculty and administrators. In these cases, students are strongly encouraged to get involved with social or political causes as a way of contributing to their communities through things like volunteering. Theoretically, this teaches students the value of being part of a collective rather than simply promoting self-interest. Another good example of social responsiveness on a large scale are the institutional review boards, or IRB, that review research proposals. Whether it's an undergraduate project or trials for a major pharmaceutical company, it's the job of the IRB to review the proposal to ensure that no participant's rights are being infringed upon and that no one is being exploited. Although IRBs are not legally binding and are put in place by larger organizations, their existence has influenced the research community by encouraging researchers to act ethically and ensure that their pursuits are in the best interests of others. In the broadest sense of the term, social responsiveness is a person or institution's obligation to contribute to the welfare or environment of their community or society. This can be an active contribution, like volunteering at a soup kitchen, or passive, like boycotting a particular company for its unethical environmental practices. Although corporations are not legally required to contribute to the welfare of others, in many ways there exists a kind of ethical self-regulation that encourages charitable giving. They create projects that contribute to the communities in which they are located or have large market shares. In some cases, they follow what are considered soft laws, which are regulations that fall outside of traditional law and order. The concept of social responsiveness has also been applied to schools, as in the case of student social responsibility, which encourages students to contribute to their communities and abstain from engaging in socially harmful behavior. Similarly, within the research community, institutional review boards have for decades been reshaping the world of research by encouraging researchers to act ethically and ensure that their pursuits are in the best interests of others.
That was about the social responsiveness. And now our next comes the social responsibility. Social responsibility is an ethical framework and suggests that an entity, be it an organization or individual, has an obligation to act for the benefit of society at large. Social responsibility is a duty every individual has to perform so as to maintain a balance between economy and ecosystem. Being socially responsible means that people and organizations must behave ethically and with sensitivity towards social, cultural, economic, and environmental issues. Striving for social responsibility helps individuals, organizations, and governments have a positive impact on development, business, and society with a positive contribution to bottom line results. Social responsibility is the idea that a company should embrace its social responsibilities and not be solely focused on maximizing profits. Social responsibility entails developing business with a positive relationship to the society in which they operate. According to the International Organization of Standardization (ISO), this relationship to the society and environment is which business operate is critically factor in their ability to continue to operate effectively. It is also increasingly being used as a measure of their overall performance. So Let's have a look on a video to understand it more clearly. Social responsibility in organizations.
Green. What an interesting word. Back in the day, it was just a color. In some instances, it was associated with envy. Thus, green was a very simple color and did not have a lot of different meanings. However, all that changed with the focus for companies to be socially responsible and minimize their carbon footprint. Now, green means being clean and not hurting the environment, and that is a driving force behind organizations being socially responsible. Social responsibility, while around for some time, really kicked into high gear with the advent of social networking sites, Facebook and Twitter, for example. And the focus was put on saving the environment. Now, companies have to actively take part in making sure they're doing their part to make the world cleaner and or working to help society. Thus, social responsibility can be defined as a company, person, or organization that, during the course of its business dealings, works with the benefit and society as a whole in mind. Thankfully, many companies have adopted a socially responsible stance when they conduct their business. It can be argued some do it for the positive public relations they receive, but we have to think that a majority of the companies out there are doing it because they generally care about the environment and want to make the world a better place. And while I have spoken a lot so far about environments, being socially responsible also branches out to helping individual people as well. Thus, the term encompasses a wide variety of actions and contributions, all designed to make the world cleaner while also helping individuals or specific causes. There are so many companies involved in being socially responsible that the list can stretch on for miles. It does help, though, to get an understanding of some of the work that is being done out there by companies of varying size. For example, according to McLean's, IBM founded the Green Sigma Coalition, an industry alliance of over 10 companies to provide technological solutions and management for a number of natural resources and greenhouse gases. Kellogg's initiated a unique breakfast sharing program that aims to provide 1 million breakfasts in schools in the 2011-2012 school year by engaging consumers to contact the company's website with photos and descriptions of breakfasts. The Body Shop, a subsidiary of L'Oreal, assures that their products are not tested on animals by meeting the standards of the Humane Cosmetics Standard of the British Union for the abolition of vivisection. At McDonald's, over 1/4 of the company's management positions, vice president level or above, are filled by women. As you can see, the spectrum of social responsibility is very broad. We have companies thinking about animal safety, feeding people, and trying to find greener ways of managing our world. However, the question remains, how does a manager in a company deal with the focus on social responsibility? For a manager or company to deal with and get engaged with social responsibility, they have to think of the old cliche, in for a penny, in for a pound. That means you cannot just dabble in being socially responsible. That is like saying you are a little pregnant. Rather, you have to be engaged with the aspects of social responsibility, review them, and determine how your company, or you as a person, can support them. Some areas to think about before getting socially engaged. Does your company produce a product that could help others if it could easily be put into their hands? Is it available to people that normally would not be able to purchase it? Is there a way for your company to produce a product and lower its carbon footprint? Is there an organization that could benefit from your company or you joining or getting involved? Social responsibility is a wide-ranging topic that takes into account making the world cleaner, but also a better place. Its focus is to help companies and managers give back to the world they live in and make it better for everyone. As we discussed, it is not only about reducing your carbon footprint, but helping people that need help and being engaged with the community as a whole. If you can keep that one goal in mind, you will most certainly embrace social responsibility and can indeed make a difference.
So you understand the social responsibility definition and aspects. So the question again arises, how does individual become socially responsible? The individual social responsibility includes the engagement of each person towards the community where he lives, which can be expressed as an interest towards what's happening in the community as well as in the active participation in the solving of some local problems. And every one of us could take part in that development in different ways. For example, by taking part in cleaning of street in which we live, or by providing social service to children without parents or elderly people. It can be expressed in making donations of goods or money, as you watched in the video. So, the next important responsibility is the corporate social responsibility. The social responsibility as it applies to business is known as corporate social responsibility, and many companies, particularly green companies, have made a social responsibility an integral part of their business models. Social responsibility gives company a good reputation that attracts investor and consumer involvement. Social responsibility takes on a different meaning for different industry, but the basic definition remains same that to positively impact social society while also improving the company's management. For example, to control the pollution, if your company is located in the residential area and it smokes out, you have to control that pollution. That is your corporate social responsibility as well. So in general, social responsibility is more effective when company takes it on voluntarily as opposed to it being required by government. Social responsibility tends to boost company morale, but is especially true when a company and its employees are actively engaged in the social cause they are taking on. So, the corporate social responsibility is defined as the voluntary activities undertaken by a company to operate in an economic, social, and environmentally sustainable manner. Here, after the individual responsibilities and corporate responsibilities, the sum up can be done by this slide that all social responsibility, both individual and corporate, is voluntary. It is about going above and beyond what is called for by the law. It involves an idea that is better to proactive toward a problem rather than reactive toward a problem. Social responsibility means eliminating corrupt, irresponsible, or unethical behavior that might bring harm to the community, its people, or the environment before the behavior happens. Let's watch another video which will help us to memorize the corporate social responsibility in a good manner.
Do you think you could judge if Microsoft, Google, and Coca-Cola are socially responsible? How can a manager judge if a company is a good corporate citizen? Recently, a model was developed to help determine if a company was being responsible to their legal and economic stakeholders, while also being socially responsible. This model is called a corporate social performance model and consists of three elements: social responsibility categories, mode of social responsiveness, and social issues of stakeholders, which are drawn into a three-dimensional model for easy interpretation by managers. In order to fully understand the model, you first need to brush up on some basic terminology. In this lesson, we will first review the definition of social performance, corporate social responsibility, and corporate citizenship. In addition, we will explain the responsibilities of corporate social performance. Let's first review some basic terminology that could possibly confuse you during this lesson. Companies have had increasing pressure to be profitable, but also ensure that their stakeholders are happy in numerous ways through philanthropic work and protecting the environment. The following terms underlie the importance of having satisfied stakeholders. Corporate social responsibility, or CSR, is the use of a business's resources to respond to help solve social problems and achieve social goals. An example of a company practicing good CSR is Prime 5 Homes, that builds sustainable homes which use less energy. Their stakeholders are satisfied that the homes are better for the environment. In addition, Prime 5 Homes also takes a portion of all home sales to use for charitable activities. Corporate citizenship is when a company shows commitment to ethical behavior by balancing stakeholders' needs and protecting the environment. The difference between CSR and corporate citizenship is that there is more concern for employee rights, environment, and education with corporate citizenship. For instance, Microsoft recently won Corporate Citizenship Company of the Year for their work with Making Sense International, where they help with education and training a global youth workforce. Now that you have an understanding of the terms, let's discuss the idea of corporate social performance, which is the stakeholders' assessment of the CSR and corporate citizenship over time in comparison to competition. How do stakeholders assess a company through the model? They will evaluate and analyze a company through the three variables. We will use Microsoft as an example, since they epitomize a socially responsible company. The first element of the corporate social performance model is the social responsibility categories, which include economic, legal, ethical, and philanthropic areas. Companies must examine whether they have been successful in each specific area, starting at the bottom of the pyramid, economic. A company needs to be profitable before they can continue to be legal, ethical, and philanthropic. Microsoft has successfully made a profit, economic, follows all legal constraints, operates ethically, and donates to many charities, philanthropic. The second element is called the mode of social responsiveness and refers to how responsive a company is to social issues. A company can be proactive, accommodating, defensive, or reactionary. A socially responsive company will be proactive. Using Microsoft as our example, they act in a proactive manner since they aggressively exceed stakeholders' expectations versus wait for something to happen. For example, they have an initiative called Youth Spark, which helps young minorities gain experience in technology such as coding. Social issues of stakeholders is the last element of corporate social performance analysis. This part of the model explains the specific topics that a business must consider with the first two dimensions of responsiveness and social responsibility categories. Examples of the topics are product safety, discrimination, occupational safety, and environment. For instance, Microsoft has successfully performed proactively in all of the social issues. They actively donate technology, education, and guidance to help battle human trafficking with the Photo DNA Initiative and the Year Up program, which is a 12-month internship given by Microsoft to disadvantaged college students. Many companies find it difficult to grasp how embracing social responsibility will help economically. The social performance model breaks down each dimension, ethical, legal, economic, and philanthropic, to show how proactive plans can help boost overall company success with stakeholders. It helps managers visualize and analyze key areas of corporate responsibility to decide where and how to proactively provide satisfaction in their stakeholders. Microsoft has been able to set forth numerous social responsibility programs to ensure stakeholder respect and corporate profits. Corporate social performance provides a methodology for companies to evaluate whether they are successful in providing stakeholders satisfaction through social responsibility and corporate citizenship. The corporate social performance model consists of three elements: social responsibility categories, mode of social responsiveness, and social issues of stakeholders, which are drawn into a three-dimensional model for easy interpretation by managers. The model helps measure whether companies have been successful in their social responsibility programs. The three elements of the social performance model are social responsibility categories, which include ethical, legal, economic, and philanthropic areas. Mode of social responsiveness refers to how responsive a company is to social issues. Social issues of stakeholders is the last element of corporate social performance analysis. This part of the model explains the specific topics that a business must consider with the first two dimensions of responsiveness and social responsibility categories. Examples of specific topics are education, environment, and employee rights.
Okay, so this was all about the social responsibility and corporate social responsibility. Now coming towards our next topic, that is how organizations go green. So first we will discuss about the green management. The green management is a form of management in which managers consider the impact of their organization on the natural environment. For business that is thinking to go green, is variety of reasons exist to take the plug. The number one is the legal and tax advantage. Number two is reduced waste. Number three is improved workplace. Number four is public response, and number five is sustainability. Managers and organizations can do many things to protect and preserve the natural environment. For instance, Fiji water is using renewable energy sources, preserving forest and conserving water. Carpet maker Shaw Industry transforms its carpet and wood manufacturing waste into energy. Google and Intel initiated an effort to get makers and consumers to adopt technologies that reduces energy consumption. Although interesting, these examples don't tell us much about how organizations go green. One model used the term shades of green to describe the different environmental approaches that organizations may take place. This is a model that is the shades of green. The first one is the first approach is the legal or light green approach is simply doing what is required legally. In this approach, which illustrates social obligation, organizations exhibit little environment sensitivity. They obey laws, rules, and regulations without legal challenge, and that's the extent of their being green. They lie here, the legal and green, light green approach. The next comes the market approach. As an organization becomes more sensitive to environmental issues, it may adopt the market approach and respond to environmental preferences of customers. Whatever customer demand in terms of environmentally friendly product will be what the organizations provide. For example, Danfoss developed a new type of herbicide that helped farmers around the world reduce annual use of chemicals by more than 45 million pounds. By developing this product, the company was responding to the demand of its customers who wanted to minimize the use of chemicals on their crops. This is a good example of social responsiveness as the next approach. They lie in the environmental sensitivity. In the stakeholder approach, the organization works to meet the environmental demand of multiple stakeholders, such as employees, suppliers, community. For instance, Hewlett Packard has several corporate environments, environmental programs in place for in supply chain, product design and product recycling, and work operations. Finally, the activist approach. If an organization pursues an activist approach, it looks for ways to protect the Earth's natural resources. The activist approach reflects the highest degree of environmental sensitivity and illustrates social responsibility. For example, a billion company Ecover produces ecological cleaning product in the near zero emission factory. This factory is an engineering marvel with a huge glass roof that keeps things cool in summer and warm in winter, and a water treatment system that runs on wind and solar energy. The company chose to build this facility because of its deep commitment to the environment. Evaluating the greening of management can be done by using the sustainability reporting guidelines to document green actions, adopting International Standard Organization 1400 Standard for Environmental Management, being named as one of the 100 most sustainable corporations in the world. So, coming towards the business ethics or managerial ethics, ethics defined as the principles, values, and beliefs that define what is right and what is wrong behavior. We will be discussing about the factors that are affecting the human behavior. At the first level, you can see in the stage of moral development factor, this is pre-conventional, conventional, and principled. So, the pre-conventional level, a person's choice between right and wrong is based on personal consequences from outside sources, such as physical punishment, reward, or exchange of favors. Now, at the second level, conventional level. At the second level, conventional level, ethical decisions rely on maintaining expected standards and living up to the expectations of others. At third level, the principal level, individuals define moral values apart from the authority of the groups to which they belong or society in general. The three levels and six stages are described here. In the first level, pre-conventional, it needs the sticking to rules to avoid physical punishment and following rules only when doing so is in your immediate interest. We can conclude that in moral development research, people proceed through stages of moral development sequentially. So then comes the conventional, living up to what is expected by people close to you and maintaining conventional order by fulfilling obligations to which you are agreed. In principle, state the valuing rights of others and upholding absolute values and rights regardless of majority's opinion, and following self-chosen ethical principles even if they violate the law. So there is no guarantee of continued moral development. Most adults are in stage 4, that is good cooperative citizen. Same like that, there is individual characteristics, values, basic convictions about what is wrong and what is right, personality, ego, strength of personality measure of a strength of a person's conviction, locus of control of personality attribute that measure the degree to which people believe they control their own life. And there is two types of locus of control: that internal locus that believe that you control your destiny, and external locus the belief that what happens to you is due to luck or chance. Structural variables, organizational factors and mechanisms that guide and influence individual ethics, performance appraisal systems, reward allocation systems, and behavior of managers. Organizations cultures value-based management and approach to managing in which managers establish and uphold an organization's shared value, as we have earlier discussed in our chapter number 3 about the organization culture and organization behavior, that this is the norm and rules and regulations followed in an organization which interact people. So this is all about the values-based management. And the purpose of shared values, guiding managerial decisions, shaping employee behavior, influencing the direction of marketing efforts, and building team spirit. These are all the shared values which people learn from the diversity, and these are the cultures. The bottom line on shared corporate values and organization values are reflected in the decisions and actions of its employees. Intensity of ethical issues can be seen by this diagram clearly that conscience of wrong. How much agreement is there that his action is wrong? This is the this is the evaluation of issue intensity, that these are the different parameters on which they are determining the issue of intensity. That's then probability of harm. How likely is it that this action will cause harm? Immediacy of consequences. Will harm be felt immediately? Proximity to victims. How close are the potential victims? Concentration of effect. How concentrated is the effect of the action on the victims? Greatness of harm, how many people will be harmed. So you can see that every aspect is determined by how and will questions. So the now comes to the how manager can improve ethical behavior in an organization. So the recruiter or the manager should hire individuals with high ethical standards, establish code of ethics and decision rules, lead by example, set realistic job goals and include ethics in performance appraisals, provide ethics training, conduct independent social audits, provide support for individuals facing ethical dilemmas. So there is an important point, that is to conduct independent social audits. What is social audit? In order to elaborate the social audit, we would like to share a video. Yes, on.
A social audit is an official evaluation of an organization's involvement in social responsibility projects or endeavors. For example, a local family store makes a clothing donation to a local church that has a homeless shelter for women and children. The store makes a similar donation 3 times a year. This is something that a social audit might uncover. Factors examined by a social audit include records of charitable contributions, volunteer events, efficient utilization of energy, transparency, work environment, and employees' wages. Social audits have several aims. One is to assess the type of social and environmental influence that the company has in its local community. Another aim is to make a judgment of the material and monetary shortfalls between the needs of the community and the assets that are available for the development of the local society. Another aim of social audits is to make local social service providers and other beneficiaries aware of the needs of the community. Yet another is to provide information needed to improve the effectiveness of programs designed to enhance community development. Many believe that social audits are an imposition on organizations to divulge some information that they want to keep internal. Others believe that social contributions should be left to the social conscience of the organizational leaders. However, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Advantages of social audits include the following: helping the community with planning, supporting democracy in the local community, promoting community involvement, benefiting individuals and families that are poor or disadvantaged, promoting decision-making as a community and the sharing of the responsibilities, assisting with human resources growth and development, and enhancing the company's image in the eyes of the public. Lila just opened a custom dressmaking business called The Whistle. She's not yet known in the local community. In order to get some exposure and help contribute to the local community, Lila decided to offer free custom choir robes to the local churches, as well as free removal of their solid waste, saving the church some money. She did this for all the churches over a period of 1 year, each time ensuring that she kept documentation of the services. When her audit is done, this work will be discovered and may be published in local bulletins and newspapers. When conducting a social audit, there are certain steps that must be followed and certain systems that must be in place. The first step is to define the boundaries or parameters of the social audit and ensure that it is relevant and realistic. With this done, the next step is to identify the stakeholders and to have a consultation or dialogue to formulate a strategy for completing the audit. The next steps would be to identify key issues on which data will be collected, such as waste disposal. This is followed by the actual audit, coming up with and verifying the findings. This is often followed by a public meeting in which the results of the audit are shared. A social audit is an official evaluation of an organization's involvement in social responsibility projects or endeavors. Some factors examined by a social audit include records of charitable contributions, volunteer events, the efficient utilization of energy, transparency, work environment, and employees' wages. The aims of social audits include assessing the type of social and environmental influence that the company has in its local community and making local social service providers and other beneficiaries aware of the needs of the community.
So this was about the social audit. Now going onwards to effective use of code of ethics, develop a code of ethics as a guide in handling ethical dilemmas in decision making, communicate the code regularly to all employees, have all levels of management continually reaffirm the importance of ethics code and the organization's commitment to the code, publicly publicly reprimand and consistently discipline those who break the code. And the values of ethics training can make a difference in ethical behaviors, increases employee awareness of ethical issues in business decisions, and clarifies and reinforces the organization's standard of conduct, help employees become more confident that they will have the organization's support than taking unpopular but ethically correct stances. So let's have a look on another video which will cover all these ethical issues and ethics in the corporate social responsibility.
For many years, corporations were only concerned about making money. That was the ultimate goal. Now, companies are also concerned about society's welfare. Corporate social responsibility is a business's concern for society's welfare. This means that marketing managers are interested in long-term corporate interests and also society's health. A new philosophical trend in social responsibility is called sustainability. It is the thought that if a company helps society through their business as a main goal, then they will reach success. Companies can look to solve society's problems by creating a product or service to fulfill a need, and they will profit and help the world. Other examples of products made by companies that embrace this philosophy would be makeup creams made from ingredients that are imported from developing companies to help their country's growth. Another example would be ice cream maker Ben & Jerry's, who pride themselves in supporting charities. Ben & Jerry's has been donating a full 7.5% of pre-tax profits to different charitable institutions. Sustainability's forward thinking revolves around creating new products that in the long run will create improvement over time in society's ills. A current example would be a backpack designed with solar panels to charge electronic devices, or 100% biodegradable recycled cardboard coffins. Another way that companies can embrace social responsibility is through a different approach called stakeholder theory. This theory's central focus is that social responsibility is really giving attention to every stakeholder in the entire company, whether it be the employees, customers, owners, suppliers, management, or the community. The following is how each stakeholder would view social responsibility from their company. It is a more widespread approach and far-reaching. Employees want to have a good, secure job and excellent wages, while management wants happy workers and profits. Customers expect excellent customer service and high-quality products, while the community wants a corporation to pay their taxes, offer their citizens good wages, and help support the environment by not polluting. Suppliers want their business to remain plentiful, and owners, of course, want a financial return for an excellent profit. The most common reason against social responsibility is that critics feel the main purpose of a corporation is just to make a profit for their stakeholders. Nonprofits should be the only institutions concerned about society, not a for-profit business. Critics state that for most companies to participate in a socially responsible way, they need to spend more of their firm's money, and in the end are costing their shareholders a profit. For example, if a company is going to import ingredients from a developing nation instead of using a well-known source, then the added cost of importing will drive down a company's total profits. Another argument against social responsibility is that companies are around to produce products and services and do not have the knowledge to actually help society effectively. Lastly, the added expense of social responsibility could make an American company less competitive globally and in the end be run out of business. If a company is giving money away, such as Ben & Jerry's, then the lesser profits could hurt their expansion or even make them lose out to a company that does not donate profits. There are many strong arguments for companies adopting a social responsibility philosophy. The most basic argument is that it's just the right thing for companies to do. Companies should care about society and help improve it for all of their stakeholders. Many of society's problems, such as pollution, poor wages, and damaged cities, have occurred because of companies, so it's their responsibility to fix them. Another valid reason for social responsibility is that if companies do not police themselves and look to improve society, then government will have to intervene and force them to do so through laws, regulations, and fines. The strongest argument for social responsibility is that it can allow companies to be extremely successful. Many companies have adopted the philosophy and provided amazing products and services, helped better society, and made a very nice profit. Companies such as Ben & Jerry's, The Body Shop, and Starbucks Coffee all found success and social responsibility. The Body Shop worked with Greenpeace and helped gather 4 million signatures against animal testing, while Starbucks supports Ethos Water, which has supplied clean water to over 420,000 people that don't normally have access to it. In the end, if companies do not consider being socially responsible, further environmental damage will occur, and then there will be fewer healthy resources for future company success. It's not all about just making money. Corporate social responsibility is a business's concern for society's welfare. This means that marketing managers are interested in long-term corporate interests and also society's health. There are two main ideas within social responsibility, and they are sustainability and stakeholder theory. Sustainability is more concerned with developing a product or service to help solve a need that will benefit society and incur profits. Stakeholder theory is more about taking care of all the different stakeholders and expecting that this will bring about social responsibility. There are many arguments for and against a company adopting social responsibility, but in the end, the simple fact is that the health of society will reflect upon the health of a company's future.
So these were all about the social responsibility and corporate social responsibility. So coming towards the social issues now, as you are saying that social entrepreneurs is the attempt to draw business techniques and private sector approaches to find solutions to social, cultural, and environmental problems. Social entrepreneurs is a person who establishes an enterprise with the aim of solving social problems or affecting the social change. Social entrepreneurs are ambitious, mission driven, strategic, resourceful, and result oriented. Social entrepreneurs are ordinary people who find innovative solutions to society's social problems. They are traditional entrepreneurial model to bring social or community benefits. Taking global issues like poverty, malnutrition, clean air and water, and healthcare are foundational to an exciting new business strategy for changing the world called social entrepreneurship. Social entrepreneurs dedicate themselves to solving the world's biggest challenges through innovative new solutions and purpose-driven organizations. So, we have a video about who are entrepreneurs and why to become an entrepreneur. So this was all about the social responsibility, corporate social responsibility, and social entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurs. If you have any question, you can please type the comment box below. We will hope to see you soon for the next chapter, decision making. Thank you.